Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everybody. For this week's video, I would like to take you back up to Minnesota to work on the Missabe Western Railroad again. During this installment, I'm going to be working on the freight yard area. I'm going to get the benchwork finished, and I'm going to get all the track laid. So without further ado, let's just head back to the customer's basement and get to work. With this morning being the start of week 3 of this visit, it is Sunday morning. I started on Sunday morning. So what we see here is exactly 5 weeks progress, 3 weeks from last time and 2 weeks this time. If you recall from last week, I got this side operational. All the switch machines are installed. All the controllers are temporarily installed on the fascia with masking tape. We're not quite sure what the finished product is going to look like. The customer hasn't decided yet whether he wants them mounted in panels or just in the fascia opposite the switches they control. I'm leaning towards installing them opposite the switches on the fascia because it seems to work fairly well here. They're fairly well spread out. But that will be something the customer ultimately has to decide when we're ready to get that far. I have one more week before I have to head home. The goal for this week is to get this side up to the same state as this side. I want to get all the track in, wired up, switch machines in and tested, and also get the main lines hooked up to this temporary turnaround so that he has continuous running on both decks. 7 more days. I think I can just about do it. But it's taken a while, but I have all the bench work finished in this area, all the foam on. This shelf in here under the diesel servicing area allows the spurs from the paper mill to be a little bit longer. And then we've got the main line coming around the front, rising up along the back. The big flat area in front is for the freight yard. And I have all the foam in all the way around to the end where it ties in with the temporary turn back curves. Here they are. The line leading up around the back to the ore yard will just stop here for now because the ore yard will be phase 2. And I've got the roadbed in for the 3 tracks that run around the back here, hidden under the city structures. Those 2 next to the wall are a staging yard for interchange runs, and the one on the low level that stops short is the yard lead for the paper mill. I need to remember to get the track laid in there while I can still climb on the benchwork in the front. But the next step of the process is to get the paper print back out again and to get it permanently attached. So let me get on with that. I'll check in with you again later. Don't go away. Well, here is the benchwork with the track plan laid out again. For some reason I ended up about 1 inch too long. It wasn't lining up here nor on the temporary benchwork for the turnaround. So in order to get it perfect, all I had to do was overlap the 2 halves of the plan by about 1 inch more than they were. Next thing to do is get it all glued down. That won't take long. Don't go away, I'll check in with you again later. Well, today is Sunday, meaning that I've been here 2 weeks exactly. I goofed up yesterday. I thought yesterday was 2 weeks, but apparently I was wrong. Anyway, yesterday I was able to complete the bench work in this area, get all the foam down and reattach or attach the paper template so it's permanently glued down now. And I also started on some roadbed. I got 8 4-foot lengths of roadbed in along the main lines around the end curve and just starting to go along the back of the yard. I will finish the roadbed this morning and then get set up for track laying. So I have exactly 7 more work days left, and it's going to be tight, but I think I can get it running. Well, I think today has been a pretty productive day. I've got all the roadbed installed for the freight yard area, the main lines. Well, most of the yard is of course down on the dirt without raised roadbed, but all the main lines needed roadbed, and the ends and the transitions and all the way around this curve, and I made this fit up to where the glue bottle is. I did that much roadbed, then I started track laying. I've got all the switches out for the main line through here, just making sure I know which one goes where. And then at this end I've got all the switches in for this end of the yard. I think there's about 20 of them, and the double slip. And the main lines around this curve, the turn back curve at the end of the peninsula. I'd laid those. And all the short bits. So tomorrow I will get the main lines laid all the way around behind the yard, get that set of crossovers in where the level is, and then start working on the turnouts for this end of the yard. The plane track between them can be done by Chris after I've left if I run out of time, but I want to get all the turnouts in. Tomorrow morning he's going to put in those 3 missing tracks along the back there. You see this roadbed but without tracks on it. He's going to put those 3 in. By the time he's finished that, I should be here. Also today I've had Chris start filling in all the missing ties. If we look in this area, you'll see there are no missing ties. I think he made quite a good job of this, considering that he has no prior experience on model railroads. I think he got all the way to as far as the bridge. See the difference here, huge gaps, whereas the track looks a lot closer to being finished where he's filled those in. Also tomorrow I will probably lay the rest of the paper mill spurs in the back, but I'm not quite sure what the alignment is. You can probably see that in many places they don't quite match the paper print, but I'll make them work. Anyway, I'm going to head home now, or back to the hotel anyway. I will check in with you again tomorrow, so don't go away. Well, this is what yesterday's track laying looks like, with all the weights removed. I have to continue here. Oh, couple more nails still to come out. I use those to hold the track in a kink-free alignment on the curves. As I mentioned last night, I finished laying turnouts at this end of the yard. They're all installed. Got a lot of plain track to do next, but I think I'm going to head into this area and get the rest of the paper mill spurs finished. So the first 2 spurs in the middle of the picture right now are going to come straight back and then curve around where the soldering station is, and the next 3 are going to curve and go parallel and butt into those, and then this first one will just go through the power plant and come as far as it can before it gets in the way of those. So I need to start at this end and work my way back. But it's about halfway through the day and I figured it was a good time for a progress report. I started off this morning by getting all these spurs in at the back of the paper mill. I changed my mind part way through. Originally I was going to have them all nice and long, figuring that they could lead deeper into the plant. But then I realised that on the chemical delivery tracks and the power plant spur, it didn't make any sense to do so. So I've just kept them straight. They're plenty long enough to do what they want to over these 4 tracks. And then these 2 are assumed to go deeper into the plant, which is why they are a lot longer. Get about 10 cars on each track. Just assuming that there are more spots further in. I've also got one of the 2 main lines installed all the way around the back as far as this group of crossovers. These are all number 10s in this area because there was plenty of space for them, and on the main line number 10 crossovers look really cool. And now I need to get on with this corner. I needed to get those back tracks in before I could work on these turnouts here, because I didn't want to kneel on them and break them. I have 3 more mainline turnouts and a double slip to install, and then I will come forward into the yard area. There's another double slip going in here, but that's a code 70 instead of a code 83. These are the last 4 code 83 turnouts that I have to install on this phase of the railroad. So I'm going to get those done next. I'll check in with you again later, so don't go away. Well, yesterday was another fairly productive day. After I last checked in with you, I got all the turnouts in this area, the connections from the main line to the yard, all the complicated ones anyway. The rest is fairly plain sailing now. I also got all the main lines filled in between where I was working the day before. We check around this side. We'll see that Chris has hooked up this end. So the temporary turn-back curves are now fully installed. The only bit of main line still missing is a few feet in here. I will get that done this morning, get all the rest of the turnouts in this yard ladder, and then the rest is plain sailing. So don't go away, I'll check in with you again later. Well, today has been another productive day. If we look at this area, we can see that all the track in the yard has now been laid. I cut the electrical gaps for the change of power district, although there is no wiring to any of it yet. That will be a project for tomorrow. Chris put the bus wires in this afternoon, but we haven't dropped any feeders yet. That'll probably take a whole day. Then we'll need a couple of days for the switch machines, and then I think we'll have one more day to get everything running. Well, that's just about all for this week's video. During the next installment, we'll get the track wired up and all the switch machines installed. But before signing off, I have a bit of a confession to make. During the recording of this video, I had a brain fart. I found myself a day out of sync. I think I might have already mentioned it in the previous installment. So rather than sweep my mistakes under a rug, I'm just going to add some outtakes at the end of this video. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and hope to see you again next week. Thanks for watching, and bye for now. Well, with this morning being the start of week 3, it is Monday morning and Sunday morning. 7 more days. I think I can just about do it. But it's going to be a... forgot what I was going to say. Never mind.